Hey everybody, today is Friday, August 4th, 2023, and we're here in Chatsford, Pennsylvania on this very gloomy, starting to drizzle day. According to weather.com, it was not supposed to be raining today, just cloudy, but clearly that is not the case. So I may get wet during this video today, but it is what it is. But the reason why we're out here today is because I was actually out this way yesterday. Right down the road is Longwood Gardens, and when I drove past this, I thought to myself, I have to get back out here because I've only ever been here once before, so wanted to stop back out here today, check this place out again. And we are here at the Brandywine Battlefield, and as you can see, there's a marker right here. It says Battle of Brandywine. On September 11th, 1777, an American force of about 11,000 men commanded by Washington attempted to halt a British advance into Pennsylvania. The Americans were defeated near Chatsford on Brandywine Creek by approximately 18,000 British and Hessian troops under Howe. So this here is part of the battlefield of Brandywine. Now, the reason why I haven't actually been back out here since I visited many years ago is because, to the best of my knowledge, if I'm remembering correctly, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot here at this battlefield. We came out here, we saw a couple of things, and there really wasn't much to see because, unfortunately, this is one of the many battlefields in the United States that have been sort of overtaken by development. Not a lot of the battlefield had been saved, unfortunately, so there really wasn't a ton to see here. Just a couple of houses, a couple of historical things, but not a ton. So just for whatever reason, basically because of the reason there wasn't much to see here, I never really came back out. But today, wanted to come back out here, see what was here, even on this gloomy, disgusting day. Wanted to come back out here, see what there is to see, because it's American history, and I love American history, and I do love Revolutionary War history. So again, wanted to get back out here, see what there is to see. I'm not expecting too much, but hopefully the weather holds out and we won't get too wet, and we'll see some interesting things. So again, this is just a small little portion of the actual battlefield, the small little portion that was actually saved. At least something was saved, thankfully. But the actual battlefield took place over a very large area, miles and miles and miles. I do believe this was actually the largest single day battle of the Revolutionary War. And I also believe it took place over the largest land area of any battle during the Revolutionary War. So this, again, just a very small little section of the battlefield. But what's really cool is that the Washington headquarters is saved. This is pretty neat. This right here is where General George Washington stayed during the battle. That's pretty awesome right there. Look at that. General George Washington's headquarters. Look at this right here. I believe this is a spring house. Look at that. Wow, that goes down really far. I'm assuming that's what this is, a spring house. Why? I mean, I've never seen a spring house quite like this. It goes down so deep before. I've seen them, of course, built into the ground. I've seen ones where you had to go like down into them, but I've never seen one that's kind of just a giant hole like this. I mean, there's a ladder right there. You need to climb down to get down there. That is crazy. I'm assuming that's what this is, a spring house. That is a really weird, bizarre one. Again, just so crazy that it goes down so far. Never seen one quite like that before. This is pretty neat. This house that was occupied by General George Washington was actually the Benjamin Ring House, because pretty much the way it worked during the Revolutionary War was if you had a home that was anywhere near a battle that was taking place, chances were your house was going to be overrun by either somebody crazy famous like General George Washington or some other high-ranking officer. You would basically hand over your house, and they would then occupy it. Hopefully you'd be nice and hospitable and maybe help them out and give them food and shelter and whatever they need, because again, they were protecting you and your country. And this here was the Benjamin Ring House. And this is where General George Washington used as his headquarters. That is pretty awesome. That is pretty cool. I love these old pre-Revolutionary War homes. Look at these. They're so beautiful with the stonework. There's a little garden out here as well. Look at that. So can you imagine back in the day, this is where General George Washington was held up commanding his army, planning out his attacks and planning out what he would do next. Unfortunately, we did not win this battle. This was not an American victory. This was a British victory here in Brandywine. Afterwards, the British army would head towards Philadelphia to take it over, and George Washington would head to Valley Forge to camp there during the winter of 1777, 1778. Right here, look at this. I can just imagine General George Washington right here, commanding his army, giving out orders, telling people what to do, where to go, how they're going to attack. Pretty crazy. There's a little plaque right here out front of the house that says Christian C. Sanderson, 1882 to 1966. More than any individual in his lifetime, Christian Sanderson focused attention on the Battle of Brandywine, September 11th, 1777. He and his mother lived in Washington's headquarters from 1906 to 1922, where they entertained thousands of visitors. Leaving the house in 1922, he stated, "I hope someday there will be a state park on the battlefield." That is pretty awesome. There's actually a Chris Sanderson museum down the road that someday I have to take you to. I've been there. It is one of the coolest museums I've ever been to. The man was a bit of a hoarder, if you will, but in a really unique sort of way, not a creepy sort of like Hoarders, the television show kind of way, in a more historical kind of way. It's really, really neat to see his place. I will have to take you to that museum sometime, if the museum is still around. I haven't been there in years. I don't even know if it's still a thing, but I'm pretty sure it is. But the Chris Sanderson Museum, which I'm assuming is the same Chris Sanderson, is pretty awesome. I will definitely take you there someday. But look at this. I had no idea he actually lived in General George Washington's headquarters. That is really cool. You learn something new every day. I mean, I knew a little bit about Chris Sanderson. I did not know that he actually lived here in the headquarters for part of his life. That is pretty awesome. My feet are getting completely drenched walking through the grass right now. It did rain a little bit, but wanted to check this out here. Look at this. This is a part of a wall that stretches all the way down to the front of the property there. So my assumption is probably that was always a road down there. A lot of roads have been around for a very long time. You drive on these roads, you don't think much about them, but they have probably been around for maybe hundreds of years. A lot of roads were actually old Indian trails, Native American trails, and things like that, or old trails that trappers used to use and things like that. So I'm sure that road has been there for a very, very long time. And my assumption is right here would have been probably where the carriages would have came up to drop people off, to drop visitors off and whatnot. And I assume that because right here is an old hitching post. Look at this. This is what you actually hitched your horses to back in the day. So the carriages would probably pull up right here. You'd hitch your horse to the hitching post, and the people would get out of the carriage and go into the house right there. Pretty awesome. I love it. Little bits of history like that still exist, that are still around. And this wall is just really, really awesome. Look at that. I'm assuming the electric box was not here back in 1777, but I want to see what this little stone over here is. There's a marker or something right here. Yeah, look at this. Washington's headquarters, September 10th and September 11th, 1777. Delaware County Historical Society. Looks like it was dedicated on September 10th, 1910. That is awesome. What a shot right there. Look at that. That is really, really awesome. There's some more stairs right here as well. I mean, just thinking this is probably here. I would assume this is here in 1777. General George Washington may have walked up these stairs right here. Thankfully, he probably didn't have to deal with the crazy annoyance that is very loud semi-trucks driving past his house. I'm sure he had a lot more peace and quiet. Maybe some cannon fire off in the distance, but I'm sure he had a little bit more peace and quiet, though. I'm sure it didn't matter. I can only imagine how stressful his life must have been during that time. I know I should probably be trying to find an area where it's not so grassy, so my shoes just don't get completely ruined, but I have to do it. I have to walk in the footsteps of General George Washington. I have to walk up these stairs knowing that he himself probably at one point walked up and down those stairs. That is so awesome. Look at this. Again, this house is pretty amazing looking. I would assume probably built maybe into, well, I was going to say maybe this house had been expanded, because it looks like this at one point was part of the house, and then this was maybe like an expansion later put on. But I say that, but looking at the stonework, it doesn't, either they did a really good job of blending the stonework, or this is how the house was originally designed. I'm not entirely sure about that. It does look like an addition was put on, but again, the stonework has me thinking maybe differently. I don't really know the history of the house and whether or not it was ever expanded upon, but that is just so cool looking, so awesome. Again, General George Washington, September 10th, September 11th, 1777, held up in here, just again giving his commands, trying to figure out what he wanted to do next. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out for him very well. This was a defeat, but still pretty cool. If you guys remember, a couple of months ago, we were in Valley Forge taking a look at the headquarters of Major General Lafayette. This is actually the battle where he was wounded, where he was shot. Unfortunately, he was okay. He survived, but he was shot here at Brandywine. Maybe not actually right here. Again, this is just a very small, tiny little portion of the actual battlefield. I don't know how much battling happened specifically right here, but again, he was wounded during this battle. So it all just kind of, again, comes around. That's what I love about history. That's what I love about the Revolutionary War history. Every time you go visit a new Revolutionary War site, it just kind of links back to a different site, and you can kind of trace the steps of everybody and just trace history. It's pretty awesome. I'm actually really happy I came back out here now. Like I said, hadn't been out here in years, because last time I was here, I just remembered there wasn't a whole lot to see, because again, it's just a very small little park, a small little battlefield. But now that I'm here, I'm very happy I came back. We have now made our way over to the complete other side of the park, and if I'm not mistaken, this is the only other real thing of historical significance to see here at the battlefield, and that is the Gideon Gilpin farm. Look at this, pretty awesome looking. Pretty much how it looked back in 1777 during the Battle of Brandywine. If I'm not mistaken, I don't believe this was actually used as a headquarters for anybody. From what I could see online, that was not the case. The actual bit of historical significance, if you will, for this house is after the battle, which again was a British victory, the British Army pretty much ransacked and ravaged the entire farm, taking everything from Gideon and his family. Pretty crazy to think about, a man just trying to make a living with his farm. There's a battle, the British Army comes, and they take everything. That could not have been a good day for Gideon and his family. I was reading about how much devastation happened and how much he lost, and apparently it was pretty much just everything. Everything was just gone. I mean, can you imagine one day just everything kind of being taken from you? And that is what happened to Gideon and his family, unfortunately. Afterwards, he actually ran a tavern out of his house to help sustain his family and help keep his family going and recuperate his losses. But that's the major sort of bit of historical significance, if you will, to the Gideon Gilpin farm and the Gideon Gilpin house. Like I said, I don't believe it was actually occupied as a headquarters for anybody, but after the actual battle, the British Army came through here, took all his livestock, just everything from Gideon and his family. That's, like I said, could not have been a good day for the family. Pretty awesome though that this house is still here. It still stands here. You can still come out here and see this again right next to the very, very noisy road that I'm sure back in 1777, Gideon and his family did not have to actually worry about. But the design of this house is just really, really unique and really, really awesome looking. I love the front porch on it. I love that giant door. Look at the side here. How cool is this? He actually had a front porch on the side of his house. He could look out over what I'm assuming probably was more like this at the time, not very noisy road, to see company coming by, or to unfortunately maybe watch the soldiers marching his way to take everything from him. The roof is really awesome with those wood shingles. This is a really awesome looking house. In my opinion, this house is actually much cooler looking than the house that Washington occupied. I think this house is really, really neat. It's really unique. It just has that old farmhouse kind of feel to it. I love it. Also a hitching post here as well, which is pretty cool. This is an awesome, awesome house. I kind of want to live here. So I guess we can actually go up onto the property. There are no signs saying no trespassing or anything like that. So we're gonna walk up onto the little front porch here. This is awesome with the old stone stairs, the door that kind of tilts to the side a little bit. I'm loving it. These stairs are really, really awesome. And of course the old wooden floors here. And look at these windows. That is awesome. You can see right inside there. Look at that. Is that a spinning wheel in there? I believe it is. These windows are amazing looking. I am in love with this house. This is where I want to live. This is so cool looking. I could just see myself maybe putting a rocking chair out here, just sitting down. I mean, the road, not so exciting anymore, but I can picture myself back in 1777 after a long, hard day of farming, just sitting out here on the front porch. Again, I would probably, there was probably a rocking chair here. I would assume Gideon had himself a rocking chair, just sitting out here, maybe smoking his pipe, just relaxing, watching nature. I mean, the view is amazing. The hills over there, maybe a carriage every now and then coming across the road. Had to be a pretty nice existence. That is until the actual battle and then the British troops marching down the road and taking everything from you. Then maybe not so much. But again, he did run a tavern here, so maybe that was fun for a little while. I know I keep saying it and I probably sound like a broken record, but I love this house. The design of it, the aesthetics of it, everything about this house is just really awesome. That amazing wood shingled roof is so cool, and these windows are really unique and really interesting. Again, I am in love with this house. Everything about this house is pretty awesome. I could totally see myself living here as long as it had plumbing put in, maybe some central air, or at least some air conditioning units put into the windows. I'd be good to go. How in the heck did I miss this? I was just so enthralled by the amazingness that is the design of this house that I completely somehow looked past the gigantic sycamore that sits right next to the house. Look at this thing. It is huge. It is gigantic. I'm going to assume this here is a witness tree, a tree that was around during the Revolutionary War. This thing is insanely huge. I feel so dwarfed standing underneath this right now. If one of these limbs were to break, I'd be done. That would be it. I mean, this thing is huge. I don't know if it's really coming across on camera, but I assure you, this tree is like this tree is bigger than this tree is actually legitimately bigger than the house. This thing is insane. There's a sign right here that says 1787 to 1987, the National Arborists, am I saying that right? Association and the International Society of Arboriculture, I'm saying that wrong, jointly recognizes the significant tree in this bicentennial year as having lived here at the time of the signing of our Constitution. Look at that. This is so cool. This tree is awesome. I love giant sycamores. I love witness trees, and we're getting to see one right now. So again, like I said, very happy I decided to come back out here. I mean, both houses are pretty awesome. I think at the time when I came back out here, I wasn't as into this back then. I mean, this was decades ago I came out here. So I think at the time I was just like, some houses, whatever. Probably didn't even look at the tree or pay attention to the tree. But now, as somebody who just appreciates history and culture a lot more, I really do appreciate these houses, especially this one here because it's so cool looking. And the fact that we're getting to see a witness tree is so awesome. This is one of the coolest sycamores I have ever seen. I love this thing. Again, I just feel so dwarfed next to this. Look, I'm gonna stand right up next to the trunk. Look at this. This is insane. This tree is huge. Like I said, bigger than the actual house it sits next to. So I came back out to the front of the house to take a couple of pictures and noticed some interesting things. I do believe that right now I'm actually standing in the original driveway for the house. And I say that because you can see down there are some old stone walls. There's the entrance. You can kind of see how at one point this sloped up here to the front of the house, which does make sense because again, there's the old hitching post right there. And look at this on the wall. Gideon, Gilpin, I believe this is 1791. Obviously this house was here before 1791, but perhaps he built this wall in 1791. Was this actually carved by Gideon himself? I would assume so. Am I actually touching the original carving of Gideon Gilpin. That is so cool. I can see him out here building this wall, taking the stone, carving his initials and the date that he finished building this wall into the actual stone. I had to point that out. That is really neat. Whew, gotta say that when I first got here to the battlefield, it was actually pretty nice out. It was maybe like 71 degrees. It had just finished raining. There was a slight breeze blowing, but the breeze has gone away. The sun keeps peeking out from behind the clouds, and the humidity from the rain has set in. It's gone from pretty comfortable to pretty muggy and sweaty and disgusting. So if I'm glowing, you know why. I was just about to get back into my car, but then I noticed this sitting down here and figured we had to take a look at this because, again, I just love an old spring house. Look at this. That is awesome. I'm just so fascinated by spring houses. I just love the idea of them. I love the ingenuity of them. The fact that back in the day, you had to keep your meats and your eggs and your cheeses and your dairy and stuff like that. You had to keep all that cold somehow. How were you going to do that? Ice boxes were not a thing. Refrigerators were definitely not a thing back then. So what you did is you took the cold spring water and used it to your advantage. Look at that. So there's a little walkway right there, and right down here is where they actually put their meats and their cheeses and eggs and dairy and whatnot into jugs, put it into the water, and the actual cool water from the spring would then keep all your refrigerated needs nice and cold. That's how you kept stuff fresh back in the day. A little bit of a walk though. I mean, could you imagine, hey Billy, we need eggs. Can you go get some? You had to walk all the way from the house way back there all the way down here. I mean, I get it. There's a little stream right here. This is where the actual spring was. I mean, you had to place them where you had to place them. There was no water up there. So I get it. It makes sense why it's here. It's just, I mean, in hard times back in the days, I couldn't imagine being like, all right, I'll walk 5 minutes. I know I'm complaining about walking 5 minutes down to a spring house. I complain when I have to walk up the stairs to go into a kitchen. And that about does it for the Brandywine Battlefield. Like I told you guys, there's not a whole heck of a lot to see out here. Unfortunately, just a small little portion of the battlefield that has been preserved, but pretty awesome that George Washington's headquarters are still here. The amazing farm that sits over there, the awesome witness tree that is here. It's definitely a cool park to come out and check out. Even though there's not a ton to see here, it is still definitely worth your time, especially if you're big into Revolutionary War history or American history in general. I do feel like the park, though, probably gets overshadowed by Valley Forge, which is only a couple of miles in that direction, but still really awesome. I highly recommend coming out here. But even though we are pretty much done seeing the actual park, there's still one more thing I have to do, and that's check out the visitor center. I need a pin or a sticker or something. Okay, so it was actually really, really quiet inside the gift shop. Just me and the lady working the counter, which is why I did not want to film. But I did end up getting my pin. Look at that, Brandywine Battlefield lapel pin. That is awesome to go in my pin collection from everywhere I have visited over the years. That is really cool. Also, if you do pay a small fee, I believe it's only $8 for an adult. You get to watch a film. There's a little museum in there as well, and they will take you on a tour of the buildings. I believe you actually just see the first floors of both buildings. So that's pretty awesome. Another reason to come back out here to watch the film, to check out the museum, and to take a tour of the actual buildings. One of these days, we're gonna have to do that. All right, guys, so that's gonna do it for the Brandywine Battlefield here in Chatsford, Pennsylvania. Again, a somewhat small park, not a ton to see here, but what there is to see here is definitely worth your time, definitely worth checking out, especially if you are into American and Revolutionary War history. It is worth seeing. And again, if you pay a small fee of, I believe, $8, you can watch a film, you can check out a small museum, and you can go on tours of both buildings, which is something I'm gonna have to come back out here and do sometime in the not too distant future. And look at this awesome cannon. That is so cool. So if you guys have ever actually been out here to the Brandywine Battlefield, leave your comments down below. Let me hear your thoughts on this battlefield. I think it's pretty awesome that these buildings were preserved, especially the Washington headquarters. That is awesome. And if I missed anything, also leave your comments down below. There is a historical church that sits over there, the Brandywine Baptist Church, but that actual church wasn't, the actual building wasn't here during the Revolutionary War. The church was, but a different building. That building was built, I believe, in the early 1800s, so not too long after the Revolutionary War, but still not an actual Revolutionary War building, and I don't believe it actually is part of the park. It just sort of is encompassed by the park, but isn't actually part of the actual park in of itself, so I did skip that. But again, if I missed anything else, leave your comments down below. And again, if you have been out here before, also leave your comments down below. But all right, guys, with that, we are done. So as always, thank you all so much for checking out this video. Be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, check down below for links to Patreon. If you guys do become a patron, I will send you a postcard every single month from the road. Also check down below for a link to Spreadshirt, where you can grab yourself retro rest stop t-shirts. Proceeds both from Spreadshirt and from Patreon do help support the show, and it keeps the show going, so I really do appreciate it. And if you watch this video all the way to the very end, what should today's hashtag be? Hashtag, how did I miss the tree? That's what I want you to hashtag. Hashtag, how did I miss the tree? I don't know how I walked past that giant sycamore over there. Again, the house was pretty awesome. It was a really cool looking house, but how did I walk past a giant sycamore? That thing was amazing. That's so cool. That awesome witness tree. I don't know how I pulled that off. Thankfully, I saw it as I was walking away from the house. But anyway, guys, again, hashtag, how did I miss the tree? All right, so like I said, thanks for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And if you guys do hit that subscribe button or you are subscribed, then I'll see you in tomorrow's video. All right, have a good one, guys. Bye.